All right, yeah. What's up, YouTube squad? Welcome back. It is Jacob Tucker back at it, but yet again for another video on our series of how to go from zero to hero in Cadence development. Wow, I haven't said that one in quite a while, but it feels great to be back on the Cadence series. So in this video, we're going to be talking about a highly requested topic. Just kidding, no one ever watches my videos, but we're going to be talking about private capabilities. So I actually had previously made a video about public and private capabilities, but I went much more into sort of like the public capabilities, and I never really talked about private. So I wanted to make a standalone video on private capabilities because they're sort of a confusing concept, and a lot, I actually have gotten some people asking about them. So let's dive right into it. So this is actually an image I'm showing you from my, Zero to Hero course, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, so what I'm showing you here is basically the three areas of storage, right? So inside your account storage, you have the storage path, which is where all your data is stored and where all your data lives. You have a public path, which is available to everybody, and this is done through capabilities, right? So you link, your account storage to the public, and then anyone can read from it. And if you don't understand public capabilities yet, I would recommend not watching this video. You probably want to go back and watch my capabilities video on public and private capabilities. But anyway, this is assuming you have some knowledge about capabilities already, right? And then we're just talking about private. And then private is accessible to the owner and people they give access to. So whereas public, storage is available only to the account owner, public is available to everybody, private is available to the owner and the people that the owner gives access to. So that's the cool thing about private. And again, it's done through capabilities. So what I'm going to show you in this video is an example of a contract. So right now in this contract, it's called test. We have an NFT resource, right? So very simple. It's just a resource with an ID field in it. We set the ID to the UUID of the resource. We have a minter resource that inside of it has one function called mint NFT. And literally all it does is just return an NFT resource. And then we save the minter resource to account storage here at storage/minter. Now, what this is going to allow this account to do, so once we deploy this contract, it's going to allow the OX01 account. So of course, by the way, the playground is very buggy, so we're going to be dealing with bugs the entire time. But it's going to allow the OX01 contract to basically mint NFTs, right, using the minter that's in their storage. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to actually take this resource and give other people access to it without actually giving them a whole new resource. So they'll have the ability to look at this resource and mint NFTs. And the cool thing is that we'll be able to retract it at any time. So if you're sort of facing this problem where you want to, give multiple people access to minting, there's two ways to do that. One is inside like your minter resource, you could have like another function called like create minter, right? And then you could literally give someone a new minter resource like that. Or, the issue with this is that if for some reason you gave it to like a malicious minter, you can never take it back, right? Because if you give them a resource, they now have that resource for forever. What you can do instead is you can keep the minter to yourself and only ever have one minter in existence. You can store that in your storage, and then you can give people a private capability or a link to your minter. And then if for some reason they're malicious or you don't want them to mint anymore, you can take that away. So that's the cool part about private capabilities. So before we go into this, we deployed this contract. Let's go into a transaction and just show like an example of minting an NFT. So let's import test. Let's do, so inside of our prepare phase, let's do let minter equals account dot borrow, so account dot borrow a test dot minter from slash storage slash minter, like that. And so we can even get this here, and then let's just, let NFT do minter dot mint NFT. Then we can log like NFT.id and then destroy the NFT right after. So it's gonna be pretty simple. And we can just unwrap it like that. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and run this transaction. It says found nil while forcing optional value. Okay, so why is it saying that? It's because I named it uppercase M. So this path is wrong. Uppercase M. Okay, so if we run this transaction, it should log the ID. Boom, there it is. There's the ID of the NFT. We logged it and then we destroyed it, right? So cool. So, the OX01 account can mint NFTs, no problem. And that's that. Now, what if we want, account 2 to actually be able to have a capability to this minter without actually moving the minter anywhere, right? So that's what we can do now. So let's go ahead and let's make a resource called minter proxy. And minter proxy is going to store a capability. So I'm going to name it cap. And the type is going to be it's a capability to a minter reference like that. And so what we can do is we can make an init function that takes in a cap. I'm just going to copy and paste the type because it can kind of revoke. And say self.cap equals cap. Now, what this is going to allow us, let me just refresh the playground. Ugh, it's annoying. But what this is going to allow us to do is pass in a capability to the minter here. It'll store the capability here, and then we can define a function called public function mint NFT, just like that. Return NFT. And this one is going to say self.cap.borrow. So you borrow the capability, right? And then we can say, okay, so let's say, yeah, and then we can say, you know, if this doesn't exist, let's just say, you know, let minter ref equals self.capability. So we borrow it, and if we can't borrow it, then we panic and say the minter resource owner unlinked it from their private path, right? So we can do that, and then we can say minter ref dot mint NFT. And we can return that to caller. So what we're doing here is we're taking a private capability that this person would theoretically create, and we're going to store the capability here, and then we can use that capability to say, all right, let the minter ref equals get the capability, borrow it. If we can't borrow it, then we just say the minter resource was unlinked. And this would, for the record, this would panic if either this is just wrong for some reason, like if we pass in a wrong capability, or if the person that actually owns the minter unlinked it, right? And then we just call mint on the minter ref here. So cool. Now, in order to actually, have it so that we link this to a private path so that we can even pass it in the first place, we have to make sure that when we save the minter to the, contract account, we also link it. And we can link it by saying we're going to link it to /private/minter. And obviously, we're linking it from /storage/minter because that's where we store it right here, right? So we link it, and the type that we're linking is a reference to a minter, just like that. So what this will allow us to do is, we save the minter to a storage. We then link it to a private path so nobody can see it, right? Unless we want to give it to somebody. Now, the last thing we're going to need is we're going to need a public function to actually give people minter proxies. So public function minter, get, or let's just say create minter proxy. We can return a, create minter proxy. And obviously that's to take in a capability that is the private capability right here. And we can tap, and we're going to return a proxy. Boom. So this will allow anybody to get a minter proxy. And again, they won't be able to do anything with the minter proxy unless, we actually pass in a private capability like that. So we can go ahead and deploy this contract. Boom, it's deployed. And now inside of a transaction, what we can do is we can have two signers here. So let's say this is the minter, and then this is the next account is going to be the minter proxy. It's going to be an auth account like that. So what we can do is we can say let the minter ref equals equals minter dot borrow. Actually, let me refresh this so that we get autocomplete. So minter dot borrow actually not dot borrow. We are getting a capability. Remember that. So I'm glad I made that mistake. So we're not borrowing the minter from storage. We're getting a capability to it because we need to pass in a capability here. Because remember, you can't store references, right? You can't do this. You can't store references in a resource. So we have to store a capability itself. So we can't borrow it. We're going to say minter.get. It's not giving auto. So minter.get capability /private/minter, like that. And just so we can see it, the type of this is, and then we have to, put the type here. So the type that we're getting is a reference to a test.minter, right? And then we can say, okay, let minter proxy, we're going to create a minter proxy. So test.create minter proxy, and we're going to pass in the minter, and this shouldn't say minter ref, right? Because this is a capability. So minter capability we pass it into the Minter proxy, and then we can say Minter proxy.save. All right, so .save, and we're gonna save the Minter proxy. Oh, because I shouldn't. Okay, so I named these the same thing. I shouldn't say that. So this is a Minter. Let's just say this is the like the receiver. So the person that's getting the minting capability, right? So receiver dot save. We pass in the Minter proxy, and then you know the 2 is going to be slash storage slash Minter proxy. Boom. And then down here we can say log. We actually yeah. So we can let's go ahead and log. Saved Minter proxy to the receiver. Cool. So just to back up a little bit, what this is going to do is it's going to require 2 signers. It's going to require the person that owns the Minter, which is account OX01, right? Because they have the Minter that we stored right here. Then it's going to get a capability to their private, reference here, which is what we linked right here. So we said account.link, the Minter reference to the private path, right? And then we're simply getting a capability here. And remember, we don't want to do .borrow, because if we do .borrow, that's going to give us the reference, and we actually want the whole capability, because that's what we can store inside of a resource. So then it's going to say, we're going to create a new Minter proxy by just doing test.create a Minter proxy and passing in the capability here, right? Because we have to pass in the capability here. And then, we're going to save the Minter proxy to the receiver's storage. So if we run this, if we want account 2 to be the one that is, receiving the thing, we can send this, and it's going to say, hey, we saved the Minter proxy to the receiver. Yay! So now what we can do is we can open up a new transaction now. So let's just copy and paste this stuff, and we can go in here and we can take in a Minter proxy. So the person that's going to sign this transaction is the Minter proxy, right? Because now the Minter proxy should be able to go out and just mint their own NFTs as much as they want. So let's say let the Minter ref equals the Minter proxy dot borrow, and the type here is going to be a test.minter proxy from /storage /minter proxy, just like that. And if we can't, we'll just panic and say, this isn't going to happen because we know we stored it, but it'll say, cannot borrow Minter proxy. Okay. And then we can go in here, say let NFT be, Minter ref dot mint NFT, log NFT.id, and then destroy NFT. Boom. So we should go ahead and sign this with account 2 now, right? Because they should be able to mint NFTs. And then boom, look, it logs 2. So the Minter proxy was able to mint the NFT, log it, and then destroy it. So cool. And just to sort of backtrack a little bit, if we look at this again, you'll see we borrow the Minter proxy and then we mint NFT. So what is that actually doing? Well, inside the Minter proxy, it's calling mint NFT, which is borrowing the capability that we passed in from account 1. It's borrowing it and then minting. So notice that what I was mentioning in the beginning of this video, the reason this is cool is because the account that actually owns the Minter can unlink this at any point in time, so the Minter proxies can no longer mint. So let's show an example of that, right? So I just showed you that we were able to mint on behalf of the proxy. Well, let's do a new transaction in here. Let's refresh the page where the owner, right? So the actual person that owns the Minter can unlink it from their storage. So if we say minter.unlink, right, we can pass in the path, which is /private /minter. And if we do this, right, so log unlinked, right, if we run this from the first account, let's send this, boom, it says unlinked. So they just unlinked their Minter. So if we go back and we try and mint on behalf of the proxy now, what's going to happen when we run, 2 here, right, when we sign it on behalf of the proxy? It's going to say panic. The Minter resource owner unlinked it from their private path. So look at that, and that's because the first account that actually owns the private, path unlinked it from their account, and now the proxy can no longer mint on behalf of the Minter. Now, of course, if they wanted to, the Minter could at any time just relink it, right? So if we made a new transaction and the Minter wanted to say, you know what, let's relink it again. So minter.link, and they're linking the test.minter to the private path, and the target is /storage /minter, and this is them linking it again. So we call this linked. So if the manager wants to relink it, let's run this on behalf of the first account again. So it says linked. And now the proxy can, do this as much as they want. So if we go ahead and go to the proxy again, go to the proxy, send it, and boom, they can now mint again. So you can see that private capabilities allow us to give some, I don't want to use capability, but it allows us to give some functionality to somebody so they can store it in a resource, and then we still have control over whether or not they can use it. So private capabilities are mostly used for like admin rights or minting rights or something like administrative, so that the admin can have the resource in their storage, give someone the ability to do something with it, and then take it away if they want to at any point in time, right? And this is much different than like giving someone a mint a resource, because once you give them a resource, you can't take it back. So I hope this helped. Again, that's private capabilities for you. I'm here to save the day whenever you need it. If you have questions, comment below in the YouTube comment box. Like the video, subscribe, or join the Emerald City Discord, which I'll also put. So peace out, dab, and I'll see you soon.